Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Sunday, January 29th, 2023. Coming at you live from Floored Media in Rockville Center. Another big show, a special show coming up for you tonight as a familiar face back in the chair here. Mr. Christian Arnold here for his send-off, his farewell show. To my left here, Stefen Rosner, help me out to host. Fellas, how we doing?
Oh, I'm supposed to go first. Yeah, I'm great, Shawnee. It's good to see you finally.
You too, man. Yeah,
I tried to avoid you as long as possible, but you finally dragged me back here.
It was really nice and peaceful here.
I know. It was the same with my life. It was great.
Yeah, no, it was really fantastic. But I know you've been a busy man over there at AM Sports, so great to have you back in here.
It's good to see you.
Nice little send off here. Yeah,
I'm doing well too. He's the priority.
I was going to say hello to Stefen, too.
I'm good.
I mean, I've seen Stefen more recently. So.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all about Christian now.
Amazing. So, fellas, great to have you both here. Of course, want to remind everybody, but actually, before I do that, great guest coming up. Dan Saraceni of Lighthouse Hockey. Almost forgot. I got so wrapped up in Christian Arnold here. I mean, he's back. It's like seeing a ghost. But anyway, Dan from Lighthouse Hockey is going to join us. And, of course, I want to remind you all that we are proud to be presented by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington, 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip, and, of course, UBS Arena Belmont. Also proud to be be sponsored by Lost Farmer Brewing Company, located at 63A 2nd Street in Mineola. And, of course, our brand new sponsor, Main Street Board Game Cafe in Huntington Village on Long Island's North Shore. Games for sale and for open play, food and drink, beer and wine, fun and friends. Bring the magic of phones down, eyes up, tabletop board games to your family. Our staff will help you find the right game for you, from old favorites to the hottest new releases. We have everything from strategic to easy party games. Get off your screens and unplug your game for a night your family will remember. Looking for meetups to join? Our Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons, or Game Night Live communities are welcoming for all. We also do parties and corporate events located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Go to mainstboardgamecafe.com for more information. Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd. Unplug your game. So, gentlemen, Christian, it's time to bid you farewell. So once again,
get out. No.
Yeah, get the hell out of
well,
here.
I'm glad I came. Goodbye.
Welcome back. Has it been covering all those other boring sports in the New York area?
I mean, it was nice to see a playoff run from the Giants. That was exciting. They did a lot better than I think anyone predicted, because unfortunately, I think it might be, outside of the Rangers, the only playoff run, and the Nets, the only playoff run that we see in these parts for the winter sports going forward. So. But that was fun. It's been very interesting to cover the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, sports that people care about.
Oh, is that a knock at the great sport of hockey, Christian?
And tennis?
Yes, it was.
Wow. He steps away, and now all of a sudden he hates hockey. Unbelievable.
No, I've covered the Rangers. They're a great team. They're in the playoff spot here.
Very good, Christian. Nice to have that very special, unique brand.
No, I mean, and
sense of humor.
Joking aside, I do miss covering the Island. I've gotten my Islanders fix every here and there, going out to the island to do some stuff on the Islanders. But unfortunately, from what I've seen and from what I've heard and read at the great NYI Hockey Now, of course.
There you go.
Where I go to get all my Islanders information when it's not from Joe Pantorno and AM New York, just to make sure I'm abundantly clear with that.
Sure.
Things have not been great on the island since I departed in September.
Yeah, sadly not. And the Nets are still your main focus, right? Even though they still have you wearing a bunch of hats, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm all over everything. I don't know what my main focus is.
Look at you, man. Well, that's awesome stuff. It's a shame. It's a little bit bittersweet here with this being Christian's last show, but it's great that he's back.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank you for all the help, man, for being involved. And we had a good 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. You helped build the show up, and kind of take it from the audio here into the video and into the studio and stuff, and then linking up with Jay here. So just appreciate all the hard work and. All the great times that we had here, and we're gonna get rid of you after tonight, which is fantastic. But I do have a special surprise for you, though.
Oh boy, what's
we
that?
We here at Hockey Night in New York, we put a little something together. We put a lot of focus, a lot of time into it, a lot of hard work.
A lot of work, yeah.
It's
I feel like it's probably
no. It is. It's actually a bit of a tribute video,
That's terrifying.
and I'm gonna show it to you right now.
Like
so
this.
Ed,
if
you want to cue it up over on the show there in 3, 2, 1.
Farewell, Christian.
Are people seeing this at home?
Oh yeah.
It's time to say.
Both of these photos, I'm pretty sure, were taken before we ever connected for Hockey Night.
Hold on a second. It just cut off. Ed, what the hell?
You have to
don't know.
upload the rest.
What do you mean?
What?
Oh, I love
That's it.
The
2
same
seconds?
file? It just cut off?
Wonderful. You
No,
guys are.
that's it.
This was supposed to go on for like another 5 minutes.
Like a
I
Tav-
sang
like
an
a
a
Tavares-esque
whole original song.
video.
I
Hell,
don't
dude.
believe
Are
it.
you sure you didn't just fall asleep making that thing? Or?
This is unbelievable. That was a 5-minute video. You know how long it took me to make that?
Probably not too long.
Well,
Probably
Christian.
not too long. He said 2
Well,
seconds.
I mean, it's only. I'm sorry, man. It's only. It's only.
You're
10 seconds.
misconstruing,
But,
5
we put our
minutes
heart
and
and
5
soul
seconds.
into it, and we hope.
Now, when you said
enjoy
heart
it.
and soul, you really meant all the effort that you would want to expend on me.
He
So,
texted
yeah,
me
that
like
actually
15
tracks.
like
That
15
actually is
minutes
much-
ago.
That's more effort than I thought he put into anything.
maybe
so.
like 35
Yeah,
minutes.
so that's impressive. That's impressive.
I mean, you want to watch it again? No, no.
I could. I mean, I could watch it 35 more times.
But yes, Christian, it's been a lot of fun, man. So sad to see you go. But now we got Stefan, and with that,
Yeah, no,
Stefan,
Stefan's much better than I am.
I'm happy to say
For
that
real.
Stefan's been helping us out here a couple times here with Chris Botta and everything. Stefen Rosner is now an official part of Hockey Night New York. He's going to
Appreciate it.
split time with Chris Botta, so you're gonna see both of them in here
It's the,
hosting the show.
Semyon Varlamov, Ilya Sorokin kind of co-hosting pack.
You
right
do
there.
look a lot older. That's true. Yeah.
I was talking about
Me
about
and
him and
Botta.
Chris.
No, I'm talking about. Oh, I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
thought you meant like passing the baton, like as a
No,
starting
no.
goalie.
I don't think I'm that.
Gotcha.
I'm not on Semyon Varlamov level. That's
kinda
that's
like
a
it
nice thing
a
for
little
you to say, but and I appreciate it. But I meant Stefan and Botta.
Gotcha.
That's a dynamic duo. That
Appreciate that.
quite frankly, the show has gotten 10 times better with the two of them.
Oh, that's
Couldn't
without question.
disagree. Yeah. no.
I mean, you should see the numbers, Christian.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. I still get some of the emails.
That's amazing. So, yeah, there you have it, folks. A little bit of a change in the guard here. Stefan coming in. He's going to be official part of the show with Chris Botta. He's not going anywhere either. So the three of us will be taking over duty. So there we go. Christian, so why don't we can you even talk about the Islanders today?
Yeah,
Do you
I
know
can.
anything?
Well, first of all, I can say the things that I was saying at the beginning of the year about this team and the ability to not do anything really it was going to hinder them this season. And what has happened, everybody? The Islanders not moving or making any moves during the offseason has hindered their ability to win hockey games. Hence the terrible, terrible January that they just had. Luckily, a little bit more positive than the last 2 games. 2 big wins over 2 very tough clubs, I will say that. And that's a positive. You hope that they can go into the break with some momentum off of that and kind of build upon that. I was looking at the schedule coming before we started the show, and I mean, in fairness, the schedule is a little light per se for them coming out of the All-Star break, so that's kind of a big deal too as well. So it's certainly put a little bit more hope into the season. You know, they're only a couple points back of actual playoff spots, but really the circumstances surrounding this year have kind of fallen at the feet of Lou. Not kind of, they fall at the feet of Lou Lamoriello and the I'm trying to find the nice way of putting this, but the Islanders fully handing over control and not really saying, hey, there's a mandate that you got to do X, Y, and Z, because after this year, it's not acceptable not to get to X, Y, and Z. I think that's really
and
kind
that's,
of
it's been a hot
bad.
topic right now. I mean, a lot of people are talking about Lou. A lot of people are ready to let Lou, let him go.
Yeah.
We brought it up on the Twitter page the other day, just kind of asking fans about how hopeful they are and, kind of just like what Lou should do given this like limbo situation that they're in right now. Because yes, it's great that they had these 2 wins. They're encouraging, but then you look deeper into the numbers here and you see that, yeah, okay, they're 3 points behind the Caps, they're 2 points behind the Pens, but they're even in games played with the Caps,
right.
but Pens have 3 games in hand. They're 1 point behind Buffalo, who's suddenly in the mix now. They have 3 games in hand of the Islanders. And Florida's right behind, a point behind there too. So, I mean, how hopeful should fans be when you look at all this stuff? And especially with the way they've been playing. They won these last 2 games here, and they only scored 2 goals in both of those games. Is that sustainable? Are they going to be able to do that for the rest of the season?
No, that's the biggest. That's the biggest issue because we saw under
Hey,
Trotz.
it's 2020 or 2010 again. Hey, they don't have a sustainable score in the lineup.
It's
Hey,
not like Doug Wade
2015.
hockey though, because Doug Wade hockey they did score. They just couldn't keep the puck out of their own net.
Which is amazing. Like when you think about the history of the New York Islanders, they've either not been able to score at all, or they score so many goals, but then they don't have any defense to play. There's been no middle. I mean, there was under Barry Trotz, for the most part, but that's always kind of been the knock on the Islanders, has been their inability to score and come up and kind of take teams out and win big games. So I mean, that's continued to be the problem, and I think it might be the problem until Stefan and I are probably in our 50s and 60s at this point, the way things have gone with this organization. So it's an interesting situation, especially going into the deadline.
And this has been the last 2 games have been Trotz-esque hockey, and that's why they've won them. They've played
Right.
very strong defensively. They've not made the most of all of their scoring changes, but enough to win. And then you got great goaltending. So I mean, that's how the Islanders won under Trotz. And again, both a lot of the regular seasons under Trotz weren't good.
The game
sneak in,
against
yeah.
Detroit was one of the most complete games they've played in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm not even ready to say that it was a full complete game, but it's something that I've been saying on the show since the beginning of the season, and it still remains to be the case. And a problem is that even in the wins that they've gotten, they haven't played a full 60 minutes. They're either trailing early, that was a problem for a while, and then they were picking it up in the second half of the game. And more recently, they started off good, and well, they weren't even winning these games anyway, but they would start off better. They maybe get the first goal or two, and then they're giving the lead up, and they're kind of like sitting back again. So for whatever reason, this team just can't stay focused for 60 minutes of hockey. And
they've also, again, they've won the last 2 games, but they've been very one-dimensional offensively. It's been the Brock Nelson line with Palmieri being back, and I know we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yes.
But no other line is scoring. You had Barzal scoring overtime, which he really needed, snapping a 10-game goal drought.
Yeah.
But again, their 5-on-5 play is being dictated by one line, and once the opposition figures that out, they'll face the best defensive pair, and they'll get shut down eventually. Someone else has to, step up.
Right, and we're going to talk more about it real soon with Dan Saraceni from Lighthouse Hockey. So I want to thank you all for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. And, of course, your favorite podcast providers. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
Miss the days of mixtapes and arcades? Love the taste of a bold IPA or maybe an ice-cold lager? There's a place where all of those magical things come together. Lost Farmer Brewing Company. At 63A East 2nd Street in the heart of Mineola, Lost Farmer combines a love of the 80s and a passion for quality beer to create brews that can only be described as gnarly, radical, and totally tubular. The retro vibe of the tasting bar will amp up your nostalgia while the blend of both local and exotic ingredients amp up your taste buds. Beer not your thing? Crack open a can of cider or sip a Chardonnay on the extended patio. Order up from the snack menu, you can even bring your own. If you're more of a homebody, pick up a growler to go or order online at lostfarmerbrewing.com. And for all of Long Island's hockey fans, Lost Farmer created the delicious Stable Shaker American Lager to celebrate the newly built UBS Arena at Belmont Park. Whether you're at the stable for a hockey game, concert, or a comedy show, you can find Stable Shaker by can and draft around the arena. So raise a cup to the next cup with Lost Farmer Brewery, the future of Long Island craft beer.
Thanks for giving some time to our sponsors. Ready to talk more Isles? The train rolls on right here on Hockey Night in New York.
Indeed, the train does roll on. Christian Arnold, Stefen Rosner, Sean Cuthbert. Wow, it feels good to do that once more.
Hey, man.
Get it out of my system one more time. Back here on Hockey Night in New York from our beautiful studios here at Florida Media in Rockville Center, New York.
That's right.
That's right. It's time for On the Line.
That's right.
Going with our friend from Lighthouse Hockey, Dan Saraceni, joins us now to talk some more Islanders hockey, the mess that has been the January. And I hear Dan is also a fellow kind of Lou skeptic at this point, which I kind of appreciate as well, because I feel like everyone has kind of given Lou Lamoriello the run of the mill and
business.
It's been a bit undeserving at this point with the way the team has played. Dan, welcome to Hockey Night in New York. How are you, my friend? All right, looks like we are.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
there he is.
Hey.
Oh, he was muted.
All right.
It's a Sunday. I'm not into Zoom meeting mode until tomorrow morning. Sorry.
All good. That was a real flashback to 2020 when nobody knew how to use Zoom. So it's all good, man. Dan, great to have you on the program. How are you this evening, other than still getting acclimated for your Monday? It sounds like.
I'm very well. I'm very well. Would I consider myself as a loose skeptic? I guess. I think we all have a right to be a little bit skeptical now. But it is funny how two wins in which you score, 4 goals total and beat one of the worst teams in the conference can do for your disposition as an Islanders fan, because they're kind of back in it. But as you were saying before, you look at the standings and they're also still kind of not in it. So it's a lot to take in right now.
It's certainly been an interesting month, I should say. Dan, let's start there though. Coming out of the two big wins realistically for the Islanders, those really were two must-win games, no matter how you sliced and diced it. Where are you as a fan? Where is your optimism, your hope for this organization now going into the All-Star break, going into some time away, and then coming out of it with a bit of I don't want to say easy schedule, but a lighter schedule coming out of it to kind of ease back into the flow of the game?
Schedule coming out of the All-Star game is definitely lighter. It's, where I don't know if I really changed all that much from where I was before. This team still has a lot of things to fix for them to make the playoffs. Like, I think that's pretty obvious. Now, I would be lying if I didn't say that I felt a lot better being 2 points behind the Penguins than 6, which I guess is the possible math that they could have been had they lost these 2 games. And certainly Wednesday, I was literally ready to just pack the whole team into one of those like pods containers and just like dump them in the Rideau Canal in Ottawa, because I didn't want to see them ever again. Just take the All-Star break off and don't come back, please, because a 2-1 loss to the Ottawa Senators going on 30 years now is just about the worst possible scenario. And I'm sure it's happened to the Islanders many, many times. And it's just, I couldn't take it. But then Friday going in, you're like, oh, great. They're going to lose. They always lose to Detroit. It feels like, they just got shut out by them a few weeks ago, and they win that game. Like Sean was saying, they play very, very well. And then they get another win the next night against Vegas in overtime, and Matt Barzal unleashing a shot we haven't seen nearly often enough this year. And all of a sudden, it seems a lot better. Now, the Penguins play 2 games while the Islanders are off. So, if you ask me next week after those games are played, I might have a different answer for you. But it's still, they need to fix a lot. You can't win games just scoring 2 goals. Like, it just can't be done. So no matter how good your goaltenders are. So this season has not gone, I think, the way a lot of us thought it was going to. It started out great, and then it's kind of gotten off the rails. So I don't know. But all I know is that it's going to be nice to have a week off, and then and there's only 30 games left after that. So we'll know pretty quickly, I think, where the rest of the season is going to go. Because if they come out and they got 4 games right away, if they lose a couple of them to some pretty easy opponents, I think we're all going to be pretty sad again.
Yeah, Sean. I mean, we talked about it before the show. Is that if they beat Detroit and then lost to Vegas, step forward, step back means nothing. If they come out of this break and drop 2. It, again, means absolutely nothing. They got to go on a streak, which, again, streaks have defined this team every year, it seems like, for the last 5 years. So if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to go on a streak. And like you said about the Penguins, they face the Penguins 3 more times. So
could be huge games if we get that far.
Yeah, and then 3 games in hand, the Penguins will make up 2 before the All-Star break. They go on their break, and then those games become critical. Same way with the Caps.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, Dan, you said before, not what we expected so far out of this team to start the season, and it's definitely been a roller coaster. And as Stefan said, you have the streaks going left and right, and now they're in this limbo spot, right, where, and you kind of looking at it from a fan's perspective, it's almost like, I kind of want to, get in your brain a little bit and wonder, like, where do you want this season to go for this team? Because obviously we all want them to win. We want them to make the playoffs and see how far they can go. But we all kind of have in the back of our minds, right, that this is an aging team, that, some of these, a lot of these guys in the team now are in their 30s, and we just don't know how much left in the tank these guys have. And you can't help but think towards the future. Everybody's talking about the trade deadline and what Lou may or may not do. So, I mean, if they kind of stay in this area that they're in the standings right now, and they even squeak in, is that something you're still looking for? Is there a part of you that's like, what, maybe this team could do with a little bit of a retool and build around the core in the summer? What do you say about that?
Oh, man, again, it depends on the day. Like, you're 100% right. Like, this team is a lot of these guys are locked in. They're not going anywhere. Every time they lose, it's like the trade everybody and tank. Well, that's not going to really work. Like, that's just not going to happen. And so, but then again, if let's say they go on a run, let's say they win, 10 of their next 12 or something like that, and they make the playoffs, and then you're looking at a first round date against the Bruins or the Hurricanes, and it's like, now what am I supposed to do with this? Now, the funny thing is, and like we were talking to a guest on one of our podcasts the other day, and the funny thing is, like, we have all seen this team do some crazy things. Like we've seen them get, they were dead and buried when the season stopped in 2020, and then it restarted in the bubble a couple of months later, and they turned into probably the best version of themselves that any of us have seen in years.
Yeah.
The next year, kind of the same thing. They didn't go into the playoffs really all that hot and ended up going to another semifinal. So it's almost like they've kind of ruined us, a little bit. It's like the year the Blues won the Stanley Cup, and all of a sudden every team in last place is like, St. Louis won the Stanley Cup, and they were in last place in January. Yeah, well, that worked for them.
Right.
It's not necessarily going to work for you. And so, that worked for those Islanders teams, and I don't know if it's going to work for this teams. I guess to answer your question, like, I just want some progress. I want to see some kind of like, what is this team going to look like? Maybe this year we know what they're going to look like. They look like it now. What are they going to look like next year? Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to get better? Because this year it is what it is. They're going to ride it out. I don't think they're going to make too many changes at the trade deadline. So what does next year mean? Like where are Ratu and Bolduc and those guys going? Where's Oliver Wahlstrom been? Like, where are these guys going to be, next year when that team starts? Because we're all stuck here. Like, we're all stuck in the same boat with this team. It's going to be what it is, and they might make the playoffs and they might miss the playoffs. But then what happens next year? Like that's I guess what I want to know is. And is Lou going to be here? Like, I don't even know if he's
valid question.
That situation going to be like so.
Yeah, I mean they're in NHL purgatory right now. They are
basically.
They are too good to get the high draft pick that the Bedard, and apparently per Bettman no one's tanking. And what Bettman says is the truth and only the truth.
Yeah, gospel.
Yeah, and again, they're not.
Pretty sure Roger Goodell and Adam Silver have said the same thing about teams.
Sure, but they're not good enough. Again, we're at a point now where it's cup or bust, and it's been like that since Trotz and Lou got here. So just making the playoffs, I don't think fans, as much as they want to see them go on a run and have the chance to go on a run, you just get to the dance and then dance. But just making the playoffs and then losing in the first round or even the second round,
bar's been raised.
Yeah, the bar's been raised. So I think, again, I guess like you said, will Lou make moves at the deadline? Is it going to be too late by the deadline? I mean, March 3rd is a month. A lot can change in a month. They could be in the playoff spot. They could be 10 points back. Who knows? I think waiting really hurt the Islanders' chances. Like, back in December when they really started to fall off or just showed signs of, okay, they're reverting to what we saw last year. That's when I would have made a move, not even for an elite guy, because those teams are going to hold on to those guys to get as much as they can at the deadline, but shake something up, get a depth forward or even a depth defenseman just to show that, okay, we're going to try to stop the slowdown or whatever happened in January, whatever you want to call it. And nothing happened. And now you're seeing them struggle mightily. And again, I kept saying, if you wait, you're going to end up selling because again, this team, they're streaky, but when they go on winning streaks, they usually end up going on losing streaks too. So it'll be really interesting to see what Lou does.
Yeah, and Dan, to piggyback off of that is the question I have for you is let's say that they do go on a little bit of a run here and they put some wins together and they make Lou and management at the very least feel comfortable with the team's place and they're going to make the playoffs. Are you scared of them even adding? Do you want them to add at that point? Like if they're in a wild card spot, like because everybody talks about how this franchise's depth just beneath the pro team is kind of lacking, and they don't have a lot of assets. They've already dealt away three first round picks in a row. Is that something you would even dip your toes into for the Islanders to finally go out and add a scorer at the expense of getting rid of whatever few assets that they have for a run with a team that we're not even sure can go that far?
Well, this is part of the purgatory that Stefan was talking about before. Like, I honestly don't think that anybody wants what Lou is selling. Like, I know everybody's like, oh, well, they just trade Beauvillier or they can trade. I don't think anybody wants any of these guys. If they're struggling for the Islanders, they're going to be struggling for them probably too. I also don't think Lou wants to pay the prices that are out there. So, like, even if they do put some wins together and, we're all standing, at the gates of UBS Arena or whatever, like, chanting Timo Meyer's name, I don't think he wants to pay whatever San Jose wants for Timo Meyer or, insert name here. So they're kind of stuck with what they have. Like, I don't think, and then if they lose a bunch of games, it almost becomes a little easier because then you've got, Varlamov or Mayfield or Parisi, who are the only three guys realistically that he could trade, maybe get something back for, but then that would signal to everybody that, they don't plan on making the playoffs. They're not really doing anything. So So they're kind of stuck. I mean, I'm not afraid of them adding. I'm afraid of what they would be losing.
Yeah,
so like
yeah,
I don't want to.
meant,
I don't want to trade a Ratu or somebody for Timo Meyer because, like you said, to just make the playoffs of the first round and then lose. So,
Right.
but there are a lot of people that would say, get rid of him, bring me Timo Meyer.
Sure.
And the other thing too is trading for a UFA. I still have like Christian Ehrhoff syndrome. Like I'm afraid that they're going to trade for a guy who's a UFA, and then he's going to be like, "Nah, I'm not interested." And
I'm
he's just going to walk. So, that's what I don't want to do. They only gave up a 4th round pick for him, so it was really no harm.
Great reference.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about Christian Ehrhoff in quite a bit of time.
What's he doing?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Dan, I was curious, kind of to piggyback off of that as well, because we've heard a lot now recently, and even in months past, Lou's willing to go out there and make a deal, but it has to be the right one. He's not going to overpay. We've seen Elliot Friedman put out there recently as well, that saying that Lou was out there looking to make deals even before the start of the season and all these different kind of scenarios. When it comes to and obviously no one knows Lou Lamoriello except Lou Lamoriello, or maybe Chris, but I don't even think his son really knows him that well. Just because the mind of Lou Lamoriello, I feel like, is the most intriguing.
Just do a reality show on the Lamoriellos.
Yeah. Right.
But like, just trying to get into his mind a little bit. When you hear things like that, what do you think the price tag was that was too high for him to go out and make a move? Not even talking about right now, but I'm talking even back at the beginning of the year before this mess kind of all started, that the guys that he could have potentially been looking at, what could have swung the pendulum where those deals were quote unquote too hefty of a price to pay to try and improve the team during the offseason. What do you think is Lou Lamoriello's threshold for too high a price?
Well, before I answer that question, just 2 things. One, my favorite thing about the Lou Chris Lamoriello relationship is when he references Chris, he always calls him by his full name. He always says Chris Lamoriello, which I find very funny. I guess he doesn't want to say my son, which I guess would be weird, but
he could be referring to Chris Botta.
Yeah. That's like we all know what Chris is talking about. And then the second thing is, like, whenever Elliot Friedman brings up Lou Lamoriello and the Islanders, he never says anything because they don't know anything. Like Friedge is great. He's a very nice man. And he does the best. He's the best out there. But whenever they're like, "Oh, let's look at the New York Islanders," they immediately kind of shift subjects to somebody else where they actually know something, as opposed to the Islanders where they don't know anything.
Right.
I think it probably comes down to, again, guys like Ratu, guys like maybe Wallstrom. Who we, like Sean said, we every year we read about how bereft of talent the Islanders prospect pool is, but to somebody they're like, "No, we'll take that guy and we'll be happy about it." So I don't know. If he could have made a trade and traded like Robin Salo or something like that, I think he probably would have, because they have a lot of kind of players at that position. But I feel like a lot of people probably want Ratu. They probably want Wallstrom to a degree, because these guys are young and they're cheap and they have a lot of talent. Maybe somebody wanted a Noah Dobson and he was like, "Yeah, no." There was a big thing. Some Vancouver writer, I think earlier this season, was like, maybe they can get Dobson for JT Miller, and it was like, I wouldn't bet on that, pal. So, because realistically, again, you look at this roster and these guys are. I'm looking at Hockey Reference right now: 31, 32, 30, 38, 33. Like, none of these guys are people that other teams want. They're all making too much money. They're all old. They're not that they're bad players. They're not the kind of players that these teams are looking for. So, and Barzell's not going anywhere. So there you go.
And I think, you touched on.
Thankfully, he signed his contract when he did.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
That would have been a mess.
Oh God.
Yeah. But as you said too, I think another thing that got in Lou's way is just cap space. It's the biggest asset. This summer, or even last year's deadline, he didn't move certain players. Like Bavili's value has gone down from last year, and there was Bailey's contract. He didn't move those players because the price tag to move those players, you had to throw in picks to get rid of salary, because again, the salary cap didn't go up because of COVID and stuff, and he didn't want to part ways with the picks and stuff to move certain players, and now we stuck with them, and their values have gone down. So I think that really impacted. We heard about Nazem Kadri, is that the Islanders were in talks with Kadri, and Lamoriello said, "Hey, we'll clear the cap space, we'll sign you," and it just never happened. And Kadri's not going to wait because players want money; they want their salaries. If the longer he waits, teams drop out. So I really think that the cap played a part in all of this, and now we're still seeing the effects of it.
And I think he's also probably very reluctant to give up a pick. Like you were just saying, to make a sweetener or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
well, Dan, it's funny because we're coming off of 2 wins here for the New York Islanders, and we just spent the last 15 minutes crapping all over it, right? Like, so with that in mind, I mean, when you look at where this team is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on the ice. It could be something more generally speaking, but trying to reel in something a little more positive here. I mean, is there anything about this team right now that makes you feel good about it? You know, aside from just these 2 wins, but you know, we just looked at all these bullet points as to why they may not make the playoffs and why not it may not even be worth making the playoffs. Is there anything positive on your end that you look at this team like, okay, I'm into that, I dig that, yeah.
Well, I mean, you just alluded to it. Like, if Matt Barzal hadn't signed that contract before the season started, this season would have been easily 10 times more unbearable than it is now. We're talking on a night when a certain Maple Leaf has reached his 1,000th game, and you know, if you're on Twitter right now, you're just probably rolling your eyes and you're like, oh my god, you know. So like that's a huge thing. And then also, and I know this is like a very general thing, like you're saying, but the team right now is in the most stable place it's been in years. Like, they have an arena, they have owners. Like, it's funny how, you know, here we are begging owners to do something, to like make a change, or like, you know, spur their general manager to do something. John Ledecky was like giving Lou the vote of confidence the other day, and we were like, oh, that's unfortunate. You know, meanwhile, you know, there have been times when, you know, we didn't know who the owner was, where he was, whether he was in prison or not. Like, you know, it's or the owner was like, you know, wanted to do crazy stuff.
Right.
Like, so they're much more stable right now, but you know, the problem is they I don't know how to put this. Like, they're so stable, they're stuck. Like, we've said, how many times have we said the word stuck in this conversation? Like, they're almost so stable. They're such a family. They're so tight. They've been together for so long that they are stuck. And I think at some point it's going to take somebody to move something important to unstick it and to kind of get the chains moving, get the wheels moving to progress and to the next level. Because I mean, we've seen this team make two semifinals, and that was absolutely amazing and memorable and awesome. And you know, that was 2 years ago, and so now we need to move. They need to find a new era. And, something's going to have to get dislodged at some point, and it might suck, but it's going to happen at some point.
Dan, that's fantastic, and I think that's just kind of a great outlook to have on the team. That, you know, for a franchise that lacked just general stability at all for such a long time,
everywhere
from the top down, from ownership. So like, the nice thing is, the biggest complaints right now is just what's happening on the ice.
Yeah,
not worried about the building that they're going to move into, not worried about ownership. They have money, they're willing to spend it. They're doing the right thing by the fans. They're trying to do the right thing by the players on the ice and the roster and everything like that. So I think that's a great point, and I think we can wrap there. Dan, really appreciate you joining us, man. A lot of fun. And hope to have you on down the road, man. Good luck over there at Lighthouse. Oh, before I let you go, actually, I know something was going on over there at Lighthouse Hockey. You guys are going to land on your feet over there? It's going to keep rolling?
Yeah. So SB Nation cut a bunch of their blogs, funding and support. Lighthouse survived, which is great. Our podcast didn't. So we're going to be posting at Lighthouse Hockey for the time being, as long as we can. But Mike and I are in the process of finding a new home for a new host anyway, for Islanders Anxiety, Weird Islanders, and eventually the second season of Islanders Award Winners. We'll be fine. The wheels are in motion. Emails have been sent. We'll figure it out at some point. We've been saying we need the therapy, as I'm sure you guys feel. Like, you know, we watch this team play week in, week out. We need to vent to somebody, and Mike and I are very thankful to find each other and found an audience. So we if we didn't have that time, I don't know where we would be. We'd be literally walking the streets shouting at strangers. You know? So we definitely aren't.
I mean, if you have
anywhere.
a camera, that might actually be entertaining.
Yeah,
that sounds like a great TikTok
I don't want to
skit.
find out though. So we'll find a new host. We'll find a new home. We will continue. It just might be a little bit different, and I'm hoping to make the transition as seamless as possible.
So are the URLs going to stay the same and everything? Or are you guys going to be changing that stuff up?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, for us, I'm trying to find a way to move our podcast feed to a different host, so that again, there's no you know, anything like that. Again, Lighthouse Hockey is going to be around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how long. They're one of the 6 blogs to survive, so you can still go there and read every day. It was a weird time, and I'm glad that not only we plan on finding a new home for ourselves as well, a new host again, and as do a lot of our SB Nation friends. So you're not going to get rid of us that easily.
So for now, where can people find you guys, and then where can we find you on Twitter and the like?
Yeah, you can still search Lighthouse Hockey in any podcast app that you have. Again, the blog is still there, lighthousehockey.com. And once we find a new host, it should be an easy transition. But Lighthouse Hockey, Islanders Anxiety, any of those will bring up our podcast, and you can subscribe and listen.
Right on, Dan. We can follow your culture of losing, correct?
Yes. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Excellent. All right, Dan, awesome stuff, man. Really appreciate it, and definitely looking forward to next time, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, take care, guys. Anytime.
You got
Thanks,
it.
Dan. Good luck.
All right, folks, that was Dan Saraceni of Lighthouse Hockey helping us set the mood here at Hockey Night in New York.
Man,
I think that's the worst I've ever celebrated 2 straight wins for for the New York Islanders.
I will say one thing that's really resonated with me, especially at the end of that conversation. You were talking about how stable everything is, that people are like, not that the Islanders, they are stuck a little bit, and they're in kind of whatever this kind of purgatory, as Stefan very accurately described it as. But it's funny, the expectation now is the Islanders to operate like a major league franchise. We're talking about them like you would the Rangers, the Knicks.
Sure, yeah.
The Knicks are not
yeah, come on, man.
The Knicks and the Nets are not necessarily a traditional, traditionally run either. But you know what I mean? We're talking about them in the sense of there's an expectation of they have to do this, and this. And it used to be, boy, they just need an arena and they just need to get to the playoffs and people will be happy. Instead, now it's Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
A couple wins, the players on the ice, goals. So like actual hockey related items that I think for the longest time was not the expectation of the Islanders.
And just so
crazy.
Yeah, and to put that even in more perspective, Islander fans right now are railing against firing Lou Lamoriello.
Which is not going to happen, but
well, yes.
Well, not right now.
Whatever the case.
Yeah,
look,
right now.
Look, now that we're on that very, very quickly, Lou Lamoriello is not going to be fired by the Islanders ever.
No.
If and when he departs the team, it's going to be on his own terms.
Like in Toronto.
At least in the press.
I disagree in the sense. Neil Best had a great column the other day in Newsday, where he said these guys deserve every chance to finish this out and see what they can do and make of the season. But if they do not make the playoffs, something has to change, and that starts to me anyway. And this is not Neil's words, but to me anyway, it starts with change at the front office, and I think that becomes a necessary evil to do, because the Lou Lamoriello plan, whatever you want to call it, the In Lou We Trust, I think has run its course in the sense of he's gotten the team this far. There needs to be a new voice.
Mean to say is that the literal wording of his exit isn't going to be Lou Lamoriello has been fired.
Like in Toronto.
It's going to be
eventually part ways.
Exactly.
Same thing with Barry.
Exactly.
Same thing with Barry, yeah.
Right. That's all I'm saying. He will never publicly be fired. Whether the owners decided that it was time for him to go whenever that time comes, or if Lou actually did go to them and say, hey, listen, I gave him my best shot. I'm 80 years old. I'm looking to take it easy now, and he decides to walk away.
Right.
Whatever the case may be. I'm just saying you're not going to see a headline.
No,
Lou
not at all.
Lamoriello fired by New York Islanders.
But I think to that point though, there has to be a massive shakeup at the end of this year if they do not get to the goals that they're prescribed. And unfortunately, I mean, yes, the generic goal that every team has to win a Stanley Cup, but outside of that, unlike let's say a James Dolan who went on the radio on WFAN and all these other stations the last week or so, when he was talking about the New York Knicks, it said, my expectation as owner is for them to make the playoffs. So clearly that's laid out what the expectation is from that ownership group. Unfortunately, or however you want to take it, John Ledecky and the Islanders ownership has been given the chance several times, and Stefan was there. I think it was the 1 millionth fan or whatever.
1 millionth fan, yeah.
And John was peppered with questions about Lou Lamoriello's status and his future going forward, because we're pretty sure, although we'll never know for sure,
this is
the final year of his contract. We have no proof anywhere, but
it's like 99.99, like the germ stuff.
Yeah. Right. It's 99.9% sure that this is the final year of Lamoriello's contract. But when said, is there an expectation? Is there a bar? We kind of get the sort of stock PR answer, right above the, our ownership suite, as it says in Lou We Trust, this and that. And so, we don't know what the expectation is outside of their expectation. Their goal is to win a cup every year. But other than that, what is the expectation you have going in each year as an owner for the team on this sort of realistic, what you actually sit down and tell your front office and your staff and everything going forward?
And
go ahead.
And Christian touched on it, Dan touched on it, is you said that, they're too comfortable just in general. But as the group, the players on the ice too, I mean, has this group run its course? Are they too comfortable with this group? That's why, if they're going to make a trade, whether it be to make a playoff push or to sell, you're going to get rid of a key piece of the last couple of runs. Like, you're going to take a key piece out of that locker room. Does that wake them up? Does that shake them up? And with what Dan said too, what is this identity of this team going forward, the future? I think with firing Trotz and, bringing in Lambert, not a completely different voice, but you brought in a guy that wants more offense. He did make one trade, Lamoriello, this summer, and then got Romanov, which is a defenseman who's supposed to be strong in his own zone, but help with transitioning, not the guy that stays back and just plays solid defense, which, again, is showing a changing in the guard of the direction Lamoriello and the Islanders want to go. You have young guys coming up this year who are getting a chance to play. Again, the minutes haven't been there, but, under Trotz, are they getting that chance? Is he going to use those young players? So we're seeing changes going forward, especially, everyone says the Islanders don't have a good prospect pool. Ratu's shown well. Bolduc, we'll talk about in a little bit, is shown well. Holmstrom's shown well. I mean, you have 5 guys that made their NHL debut this year, and they're in a run. They're trying to make the playoffs, not we've been out of it since October, let all the young guys play.
It's just so hard for me to look at this team. I mean, look, there's still 30 games to go in this season. That's a lot. Now, I mean, and with what Dan said before, with the ups and downs, and we all said here, and it's been such a roller coaster season that they've shown that they're capable of winning and winning well. And they've also shown capability of losing and losing terribly. So it's like, what team is going to show up for these 30 games? And it's hard for me to sit here right now and say, well, this is what the Islanders should do. Because there's so many what-ifs involved with what can happen the rest of the season. They can play more hockey like the last 2 games. They can play more hockey like the Ottawa and the Toronto games. That can happen too. And the question is just which team is going to be that team. So it's hard for me to just sit here and be like, they should go out and get this guy, or they should start selling. It's like I'm in total wait and see with this team because I see what they're capable of on the good and bad of the spectrum.
And it's funny because when we spoke to Lou in Denver in mid-December, I think the Islanders' offense was around 3.3, 3.5 goals per game, and he spoke about how the offense has been great, the defense we've had to sacrifice a little bit, but it's been great. And then the offense has disappeared. Obviously, not having Dobson in the lineup or scoring. He had no goals in 10 games before he got hurt, 11 games, whatever it was. Islanders had the most goals from defensemen all season. That's dried up, which has unmasked the issues with the offense.
Yes.
So this is a team that can score goals. It's not that they can't. People think that there's no goal scorers on the team. They were doing it. They were averaging, at one point, I think, 3.5 goals per game this year. That was just not consistent enough, which they need help. But it's funny because the team the next 30 games could show that offense again. Everyone gets healthy. Fashion comes back. Dobson comes back. They go on a run. They score 3.5 goals per game. But then it could also dry up and they could be averaging under 2, which is what they've been doing in this month.
Yeah, the problem with this January was that the goals dried up because they were already
about a dry January. Jeez.
Yeah, right.
I mean, because here's the thing: like they were in the beginning of the season, the first couple of months, they were scoring more goals. They were giving up a little more too because of the new style of hockey that they were playing, and the problems started coming when they weren't scoring those goals anymore. So they were scoring Barry Trotz amounts of goals, but they were still giving up Lane Lambert amount of goals as well.
Right.
And that's what the problem was. And just like I've never seen a team give up as many breakaway goals as in that game against Toronto. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Three breakaway goals against and a penalty shot that was unsuccessful thanks to the save, but I mean, unbelievable. It's just like, it's crazy how porous this defense can look on a bad night, and it's been a big problem for this team. And it's like you see them tighten it up against Detroit, you see them tighten up a little bit against Vegas. Maybe we see more of that now, and we're gonna see more 2-1, 3-2 games, and maybe they can play more of a hybrid Lambert Trotz hockey where they're kind of playing these lower scoring games and tightening up the defense.
What's crazy about that Toronto game is they got Palmieri and Pelech back, and they played probably as close to a perfect first period, just structurally,
right?
As we had,
and then I turned it on and it went down.
We had ever seen, and
I think
everyone
I found the problem.
Yeah.
Hello.
And everyone in the press box is going, okay, can they continue it? That's been the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Carrying momentum has been probably top 2-3 issues behind the power play this whole year, and of course, and they fall apart. I mean, the amount of breakaways, like you said, Lou said the other day, he had never seen that before. The amount of breakaways, and this is guys like again, Pelech first came back, but him getting caught up the ice, Pulak getting caught up, Romanov just bang, 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 and that's the game right there. So it was very interesting to see because they started, that first period was so good structurally, which we hadn't seen in a very long time. It's probably their best first period, maybe this season, definitely over the last couple of months prior. So that was interesting. And again, I guess you could say they got him better. The Ottawa game, I mean, defensively they were pretty good.
Right.
The
goals didn't come.
Yeah, and it didn't have that much of a push, which was weird late. You feel like they would have really shown a push. Again, not knocking their effort. I think they're all trying. But
right.
Elliot Friedman and Marek on their show later this week made a great point. They said, because the Islanders are struggling so much to score goals, when they do get that goal, they seem like they're trying so hard to score one or two that by the time they score that, they're gassed. They're tired.
Yeah.
It's an older group. And there's a little bit to that. Other teams have those 2 or 3 snipers that come down the wing and just shoot and score, instant offense. The Islanders have to grind, net front presence, get those rebound goals, and that takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, the biggest mystery to me is just how this team isn't capable of maintaining consistent, strong hockey. And it's only coming in spurts.
But that's been their MO forever. I mean, even under in fairness, even under Barry Trotz, it was the same. You had that inconsistent. You were consistently inconsistent, and it just continued.
But defense
what's interesting? Yes, I'll give you that. but also, what's funny with the Barry Trotz teams, and I'm kind of leaving out last year because we know that was a disaster.
Right.
I'm talking about when they were winning. Was when they won, they won. When they lost, they lost. But it was always kind of like one switch or the other. Yeah. Where this team, it's been just up and down every so often. You know what I mean?
When they got a lead, they won.
Right.
If they got a lead to the third period, unlike years past, you just went, that's it, game over. That's the game.
Right.
And we haven't seen that at all this year, especially over the last couple of months, because they get the leads, they go to the third, and then they immediately blow it. And then they scored 4 third-period goals in the month of January. 3 came in one game against Vancouver. They went, I think, 10 or 15
And what was it, an 11-game streak they went?
Yeah, 11 games without scoring. And they were the best third-period team
Insane.
in the sport.
Right.
That's crazy.
It's wild. Well, gentlemen, great conversation we have going on here, but I want to get one more break in. So, folks, want to thank you all for tuning in to Hockey Night New York here at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY, and, of course, your favorite podcast providers. We will be right back.
New York Islanders fans, Sunday night is Hockey Night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow at HockeyNightNY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan. Hey there, welcome back. We missed you too. Now kick up your feet and settle back in to Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Hockey Night in New York here at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY and your favorite podcast providers. It is now time for What's on Tap, and for the New York Islanders, not a whole lot. They have a long 8-day break here, and that includes All-Star Weekend, which happens in Florida this year. Thursday night is the skills competition. Friday night is the game. Is that correct,
Sounds
gentlemen?
about right.
Yeah? Okay, we're not even sure.
I'll take your word
because we don't
for it.
care.
Yeah.
Because we don't care.
Sure.
Yeah, so boys, a couple weeks ago we talked about the All-Star game a little bit. We can touch on it just a bit. You have Brock Nelson going. You have Ilya Sorokin going. Would have been criminal if he wasn't. He's just been outstanding this year. Boys, what do you have to say about it?
I mean, just watching Sorokin every day, there's goalies in this league, and there's above average goalies, and then you have Sorokin and a couple other ones where they're light years ahead of everyone else, just talent-wise. And Sorokin comes over, and he's been great in the room. First off, he dropped the words high danger chance the other day during an interview. This guy last year could barely say a couple of words, and now he's dropping advanced analytics. I don't know how it's crazy, and his quotes are top notch.
He's a funny dude.
His mindset, though, again, goaltending mindset is critical. He legitimately, everything he says is next game, not thinking about the past. Everything is the game at hand. Didn't want to talk about the All-Star game when he found out. Just focus and frustration, too. I mean, when you have a goalie who's playing out of his mind and has the wins-loss record, is just, that's criminal. And again, it's a team game, but he said, he goes, no frustration at all.
I think I just made up my mind. I want them to make the playoffs for Ilya Sorokin. Like, just so it made it worth it for this guy, because he's having such a stellar year.
Playoffs his first season. First season.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been an absolute animal this year. And he's deserved so much better than what he's getting.
I will say, there's only one other time I ever see Stefan's eyes twinkle like he does when he talks about goaltenders, and that's when he looks at his girlfriend. But I mean, like,
shout out Alyssa, appreciate it.
His love of talking about goaltending and goaltenders just matches Nothing I've ever seen.
That's his
There's a real
trade. He's a
passion.
goalie himself.
Yeah, no,
passion.
I mean, I've watched them forever. It's just,
I know, but it's just really special watching.
No,
Stefan
you're
talk
right.
about
There
it.
is a
There's
twinkle in his eye. Yeah.
Actually, to be honest, to be fair, I don't even think he looks at Alyssa the same way.
Damn.
When
she's watching this.
I know.
Come on.
That's what I'm saying.
Brutal.
Eek. Good luck.
Anyway,
Good luck after the show.
Yeah, back to the goaltending for a second.
Oh yeah, of course you want to talk about.
He's not going to. Sorokin's not going to win it. But if the Islanders didn't make the playoffs, his name. I hate you guys. His name would have to be in the Hart conversation, just because of what he's done. Again, he won't win it. He won't win it, and goalies usually don't win it.
Right.
But at the same time, you take Sorokin away from this team, they're in the Bedard race, and they might be winning it.
Yeah, I think that's a good argument. Whether or not the league is going to look at it that way, or whoever votes on it.
No, he's been great, but he hasn't played. You know, Sorokin's carried the workload. Varlamov missed a lot of time.
I know you don't watch hockey anymore, but he's. I mean, if Sorokin wasn't there, this team would be in the Bedard race. There's no question. He's bailed them out night after night.
Again, Varlamov's been fantastic, but Sorokin's the guy.
It's not to say that Varlamov has. I disagree with that because I don't think not that I don't think the level would drop off significantly between Varlamov and Sorokin, but I don't think it would drop off that significantly where you're going from middle of the pack team to holy crap, they're in the NHL basement. I don't think that's a fair assessment. I don't necessarily agree with that assessment, I should say.
Maybe like 24th, 23rd or 24th in the league. Yeah.
No, but Varlamov's. I mean, the bounce back that he's had, no one's really speaking of either. I mean, he had a tough year last year, and now he's been great. So.
How much did Ilya's agent give you to say that? To say all that stuff.
No comment.
A lot of
no comment. All right, so fella, are you guys going to watch the All-Star Weekend? You guys care? I know you don't.
Well, no, I mean, I
didn't watch the Island games.
I think All-Star weekends in general are just the worst. NBA, NFL, NHL.
I don't get All-Star games that happen halfway through a year because you are an All-Star for half the season. Like, that means you were good for half the year. These players that are in the All-Star game could be terrible the rest of the year, but they were All-Stars. I don't like that.
Yeah, but I don't think I could be wrong, but I can't remember a significant drop off from a guy who has been in an All-Star game to his second half of the season where he just he dropped to the point where like, wow, this dude got into the All-Star game. What was he, juicing or something? Like I don't remember to really anyone that drop off being that significant. I'm sure there's been some second.
It's all a show. It is what it is. Like
I mean,
I'm actually kind of
a fun spot to do an All-Star.
I'm kind of glad that the skills competition is on a Thursday because like it's still during the week. You know, maybe you're not going out or hanging out or whatever. You just have a little sleepy Thursday. Throw a All-Star skills competition on. You know what I mean?
I think
and then I don't care about Friday.
The skills competition is much more entertaining than the All-Star game.
Every year. The skills competition is like the most entertaining part. The All-Star game, you're like, my God, why am I watching this?
I feel bad for goalies too in All-Star games.
I will say is I love the jerseys this year.
Yes,
they
love the jerseys.
I think it's the first time in a long time that they have done a good job with that.
And it's the Islander fans are taking notice. I went to the game last night and walked into the pro shop just to ask about them, see if that they had them, and they already sold out completely of Brock Nelson All-Star jerseys. And I said, I was like, are you guys going to restock? They were like, no, that's all we're getting, and they're done.
Wow.
They only had some Sorokins left. Funny enough, right? You would think that those would have sold more. Maybe they had more of those in stock than the Nelsons.
I don't know. I feel like their shipment would have been the same. I
have no idea how that works, but yeah, if you go to the pro shop at UBS Arena, they are fresh out and won't be getting any more.
You mean the
Brock
Isles
Nelson.
Lab?
What did I say?
You said pro shop.
Pro shop's at Northwell.
Yeah, pro shop. No,
I'm just glad I didn't say like the Knicks Lab. Or the Rangers.
That would have been weird. Well, if you said the Rangers lab, you would have been kicked out of the building, I'm pretty sure.
But for Nelson, though, I mean, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I was like, he's so deserving out of all the Islanders that could have gotten again. Sorokin,
even with the 14 game goal drought that he went on or whatever.
Yeah, but just for what he did last year too, to not. I'm
glad he's going.
Yeah, it's a perfect pick, and again, he's never been before. Barzal had been. Sorokin, you knew if he didn't get this year, which you knew he would, he'd eventually get it again. Yeah. And Nelson, again, you never know. He's past 30. This could be in the next couple of years, and then he might fall off. So really good for him and his family to get this chance.
Absolutely.
Is it akin to the year Josh Bailey was an NHL All-Star? I mean, because that was...
Or Mark Parrish.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. But the Josh Bailey year, him going to the All-Star game, I think was a really special moment. But Brock Nelson certainly, too. I mean, the years he's had, Sean and I have talked about it extensively, from where he's come from to where he is now.
You got to credit Trotz, too. I mean, until Trotz got here, Nelson was a very streaky.
That was his coming out party for sure.
He was the Anthony Beauvillier.
Exactly.
Now, he was that back then. Guy that started off hot or hit those really streaky moments. You're like, wow, he could do something.
If only Lane Lambert could do for Anthony Beauvillier what Barry Trotz did for Brock Nelson.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, I'm curious. You brought up Lane Lambert. want to make sure I don't mispronounce it like you.
Lambert?
I tweeted that on accident.
Lane or lame?
No, yeah.
Oh,
and I was like, uh-oh.
Stefan.
That's I mean, N and M are,
They're right next to each other on the
they're
keyboard.
right
Cut the
there.
guy some slack.
Yeah,
you know?
it wasn't a knock.
They both sound
I
very
like Lane
close
a
to
lot.
each other.
Lane's a great guy.
Yeah, when he answers a question with more than 5 words, he's a great guy. Lane Lambert, his position.
Little shade there.
His position coming into this situation right now. I said at the beginning of the year, I'm curious to get your thoughts now because you follow this team. Both of you follow this team a lot more heavily than I have. But
clearly,
after they hired him, one of my main concerns was after the Blue Lamel didn't add much to the roster in the offseason. Wow, this guy's going to get handed a flaming baton. And then halfway through, it's going to be a stain on his record because then this is a new NHL coach and people are always quick to blame the coach and, so on and so forth. How do you view this season from the perspective of where Lane Lambert and his ability to coach? Because he is, by all accounts, he was the hot new coach coming into this league this year. He was the guy that everybody wanted. And then if the Islanders didn't hire him or so
he was gone.
He was gone.
Yeah.
How do you paint this picture of what the season has been as far as how this reflects on Lane Lambert?
I think he deserves criticism. Everybody does, from GM, coach, players. But again, I don't think he deserves a lot because again, he has the cards he has and he can't get a new deck. Like that's up to Lou to get it. And Lou said the other day, Lou took a little bit of heat off of Lane and the coach staff. He said,
big time.
It's not their fault. This is completely on me, and that was good on Lou. But at the end of the day, it is on him. It's his job. Lane can't go and make trades. And I think the biggest thing was signing him is that the Islanders and Lane, he knows the group. And if Lou truly believed, hey, last year was a one-off, I trust this group to go back and be back to what they were. Lane knows this group the best. Can he get more offense out of it? They both agreed that they could. And I think Lane, again, it does help knowing the group. You bring in a new coach, doesn't know the players' tendencies. They doesn't know how they are in the room. I mean, Lane was there since 2018.
Right.
He believed that this group could get it done, which I think is a big part of why he took the job. He could have gone to Detroit probably. Him and Yzerman go way back. They were roommates in their first couple of years in the NHL. So I think Lane deserved the one knock I would say would be the power play. John McLean.
But I feel like we've been the power play has been a mess.
Of course.
Well, it's like even bigger mess now.
Playing time, obviously.
Unbelievably.
Playing time with the young players, which I know what Lane's doing with the same thing Trotz did. Is you play on the fourth line, you play north-south game, and then you work your way up. Holmstrom getting third-line minutes, Bailey dropping down. All of that, the game plan with the lines is Lane, and he's changed a lot up with Barzal, and again, players haven't helped him with that. He deserves, critiquing, but at the end of the day, I don't think this is a stain on him because this group is flawed to begin with, and he jumped on ship, and that's how it's been.
No, for sure. And I think one of my concerns too is because it's such two things. I want to circle back to one thing.
Yeah,
wasn't throwing shade at Lane, but as Stefan can attest to, Lane's a phenomenal coach. He's someone I would have argued should have had an NHL job before this year.
Yeah, agreed.
But as Stefan knows, when it comes to answering media questions, giving insight of the professional head coaches in this town, Lane Lambert.
We knew what you were saying.
He's the opposite of Trotz.
He's the opposite of Barry Trotz, exactly.
I remember
I love Trotz pressers, man.
We wouldn't, sometimes.
I actually really enjoyed Lane Lambert, not as as a casual observer, because I'll hear Stefan ask a question and he'll just go, yeah, that sounds about right, and then it'll be like, all right, that was the answer. All right.
So with how much Barry would answer questions, like sometimes a couple of minutes for each question, we wouldn't all be able to ask questions.
Right.
Now with Lane,
everybody gets a question.
It's like Oprah. You get a question. You get a question. You get a question.
Point, yeah.
And you could literally ask probably everything you want to ask. You might not get the answer you want or any answer at all, but you do get to ask the question.
I find that aspect entertaining. But what I was going to say too is the NHL is such a interesting group when it comes to how they hire people, who they hire, and as we all know, hockey is a sport, especially the National Hockey League, is a league that is very insular, right? Like as soon as the coaching job opens up, the same 5 names always pop up, and you could throw a dart.
Yeah, you've hated this for a long time. You've brought this up more than once.
But Lane Lambert was a new name,
right?
And a guy that deserved. This is why I don't want this to be like the mark. This is why we don't hire newer coaches.
So you're pulling for Lane Lambert.
Why wouldn't you?
But
why wouldn't I? But also. I think he's such a talented coach, and the NHL needs to expand its pool of people they go to. That I just don't want to.
Instead of bringing Rick Tocchet back,
right, for the 10 millionth time,
which again,
Claude Julien for the 20th time.
Right.
You have Babcock still available. You have the whole thing with Quenneville, which we don't obviously.
John Tortorella.
I mean, all these guys.
It's the same.
The same old people, right?
No, it's not even that. It's just the same 5 names that always pop up. Who happen to be old.
Well, we got to head into the hero, but the one thing I'll just add on that coaching question is, I don't know what percentage of this you put on Lane Lambert, but he has to factor in at least somewhat with this, with the efforts that they've been given. Me harping on this whole 60-minute effort thing. Yeah. I don't know. Again, I don't know how much you put on the players, how much you put on the coach to rally the team, and the leadership of the team, for 82 games. Maybe guys like Anders Lee and Cal Clutterbuck and Brock Nelson come into question too. Like maybe you look at those guys as well. Yeah. But one thing I am concerned about under Lane Lambert is just how inconsistent that they've been. And they haven't been able to put these 60-minute efforts together. And it just seems like when they look like barnstormers in one period, they look absolutely terrible in another. And that's just something that needs to be shaped up for any team to be considered a contender for the Stanley Cup. So that's my 2 cents there, but we do have to get to the hero because we're running up against the clock. So, Ed, there we have it, folks. When you hear this song, that means it's time for the hero of the week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli and Bagels half-price hero, which this week is the Poke Check, featuring roast beef, turkey, ham, Swiss and American lettuce, and tomato and mayo on a hero. So, folks, it's time for the hero, Christian Arnold. Who's your hero of the week?
My hero of the week is...
Do you remember?
No, I want to say it's the planned casino at Nassau Coliseum.
No,
I'm pretty sure that
wasn't
right.
it.
And that wasn't this week, so
no.
I
want to take one more
I assume
guess?
it's like the hero of like the last 6 months for me since I haven't been here. All right,
it was a layup. We put it up there.
Kyrie Irving.
I like
Kyle Palmieri. Sorry,
there we go. There we go.
I couldn't read my handwriting.
Getting so good at this. It's my handwriting, but
he missed 17 games. 27 of 28. Since returning, he has 5 primary assists, points in each game. He's been the missing winger for Lee and Nelson.
Christian is stupid.
I would have, if you wrote that, I probably would have read it. He's played 42-40 with those guys, and that line is outscored. Has been scoring at a 4-1 pace.
Christian,
like
of those 5 assists, which do you think was the most critical? Which was the most important?
Honestly, when I look at the play of that line and how, especially with the lack of scoring the Islanders had, it's hard to pinpoint one because all of them are such a critical assist when the Islanders aren't scoring a ton of goals. And so that becomes such an important aspect of how this team plays going forward. You want to see that line continue to do well, and you want to see kind of want to see them continue where you see 6 of the last 7 goals from that line, but you also want to see the scoring spread out a little bit more. But Nelson having 2, Lee having 4, it's a big hand to Palmieri.
Christian, well put, well answered.
Does that trump my Sabado?
Oh, I don't know. It's in the running. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
what?
Yeah. He gave the day of Saturday the hero of the week a couple of weeks.
Because that was when the Islanders went out Western Canada and just fell apart.
Yeah, they were very bad.
That's nice.
But
That's
great
creative.
job.
I like that.
Thank you.
I have to say, Kyle Palmieri has definitely been a difference maker since he's come back.
I mean,
so that's good
I
to
wouldn't
say.
have picked him if I didn't have any reason.
100%. So Stefan and I have a combo pick for the hero of the week, and it pains me to say it, but that is yourself, Christian Arnold.
What?
Yeah, Christian Arnold, hero of the week. Yeah, man. You finally made it back into the studio.
I'm not sure if that's
fun,
a really nice
laughs.
gesture or really indicative of where the Islanders season has gone the last
well, you have as
couple
many
games.
goals
We
as
could
insert player.
have went with Semyon Varlamov. That he had a good game. Couple of guys. They had some wins this week, but we chose you.
Thank you.
We
That's very
chose
kind of
Christian
you.
Arnold.
We're trying to get everything
man.
out of the way so that way we'd never have to talk to you again.
I hope so. I'd never want to see either of you again. So I mean,
Yes, and that's why you're the hero, because we know this is the last
Yes.
time.
I should have made you guys my hero. Stephen, Sean,
you're selfish.
Also,
God.
you're my co-heroes.
Selfish.
I was handed this card and said, Kyle Palmieri is your pick for hero of the week. Get off my back.
That's true. It's all true.
It's fact.
So, folks, stop on in to the Blue Line Deli and Bagels flagship location located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Mention Hockey Night in New York and get half off the Poke Check. And now, let us go to Questions Brewing. Ed J, how we doing over there?
It's time
We're
for
busy.
Questions Brewing.
We're busy back
Brought
here.
to you by Lost Farmer Brewing.
All right, so we'll
See
run
a
the
lot
show
of
up
sitting
until
around.
11 o'clock. All right. So, it's time for Questions Brewing. Ed, let's see what we got going on in the chat, buddy.
A couple people have been talking about this in the chat. Apparently, rumors of Steve Cohen Also, Neil Smith looking to buy the Islanders from Malkin and Ledecky.
What?
I can answer this.
Any insight on this? A lot of people talking about it.
Stop that.
First off, Steve and Alex Cohen, his wife, were at one of the games this week.
They were at the Friday game, right?
Apparently, Neil Smith was.
So Neil Smith.
Wearing the fisherman
Stefan wrote about this.
I wrote about this because Neil Smith, someone reached out to me and said, hey, Neil Smith's at a suite, he's taking notes, he's by himself. Neil Smith has worked for UBS, the bank, for a while.
Huh.
And when
Did not know that.
they got the naming rights for UBS Arena, he became the liaison for the rink. So now he's doing stuff with, how are the suites at games, the fan experience. That's why he's there at a lot of games, because he works for the bank, and now he's the liaison to UBS Arena.
Sure,
I had no idea. But is he going to buy the team or not?
No, no. Weird. Why would a GM? Why would a former GM be the owner?
It could be like. Well, I would say it could be like. One guy's
partner,
the
percentage
owns like
stake.
2%, like the Ryan Reynolds thing that they're trying to do up in Ottawa.
Steve Cohen buying the Islanders would make sense because he's an Islander fan. I'm pretty sure. So,
but how's that going to work when the NHL has a salary cap? He can't do what he's doing with them.
Right. But it also wouldn't make sense because why? I mean, outside
can we
of
just
why would Malkin and Ledecky want to sell?
No, they just bought a brand new arena. They're not selling.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And it's funny
Where
too.
Where is this coming from? The Inquirer? Where are these rumors coming from?
I think just because Steve Cohen was at the Islander game on
Neil Smith.
And now he's buying the team?
And Neil Smith was at the Islander game. But again,
is there a credible source anywhere?
No.
Not that I've seen.
Twitter people.
That's crazy, though.
We're using Twitter as a source. Christ.
Yeah,
rumors.
There was also rumors that I'm going to buy the Islanders. I can't confirm.
There were none in the chat, actually, tonight with that.
It's on social media. You wouldn't know.
Somehow, you weren't buying the Isles tonight.
All right, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Next one.
There's a lot of teams I could see Steve Cohen trying to buy. Islanders are not one of them.
Yeah, not in a cap world.
Laneberg came out swinging with this question, I feel. If your team had a center in his prime who was reluctant to shoot, couldn't win a face-off to save his life, and who didn't gel with any of your wingers, would you look to move him?
Are they talking? Who?
Not after hypothetically signing him to an 8-year extension.
Loaded question.
Damn.
Are we faulting that gentleman for not having chemistry with his line mates, or is he just not being suited with the proper line mates? I would say that.
So I don't have the stats on, but I did look it up yesterday. Since Wallstrom has gone down with his injury, I'm pretty sure Barzal has played with 10 different line combinations.
It's not fair.
The longest combo has been this week with Beauvillier and Cizikas, which hadn't scored until Beauvillier passed it to Barzal yesterday for the OT winner. Yes, Barzal needs to shoot more. We all know that, but I think people don't understand.
Look at his goal in overtime.
Yes, but he shoots more than people
shoot the puck.
He does. If you look at the stats, he shoots. It's just in situations like that, he's more likely to pass. He's a playmaker, and I think when things weren't working for Barzal, he got hurt. He missed that one game. He had scored 6 goals, 6 games in a row with a goal. Comes back, doesn't score in 10 straight. Snaps that yesterday. Yeah. Is that when players are struggling, they're maybe thinking too much. Like he's reverting to, I got to pass. I'm not scoring. Let me set people up. And I think that's what you saw. Barzal got even more pass happy or peeling off and trying to find the point job. That's what he's been doing most of his career. But it does go back to he doesn't have wingers. Cizikas is a 4th-line center. On other teams, could he play higher in the lineup? Sure. But he's not a winger. And Barzal's struggling in the face of that. That's on him.
And you could even make a case for Cizikas being a winger on Barzal's line to be that grinded out guy, battle on the boards guy, if they had a sniper on the other side. Yeah. Which they don't.
And Beauvillier's gotten the chance, and unfortunately, it's so funny. We had spoken to Lane, and it was asked, you've tried everyone but Bo. Why have you not done that? And Lane said, I like him with Nelson. The next game.
Right.
And this was a huge chance for Bo. And yes, he did set him up for the OT winner, but even yesterday, Barzal set him up for a 2-on-0 backdoor goal. Thompson made a great save. I don't know if a goal-scoring sniper scores that, but it's chance after chance. Look at that Buffalo game with 6 seconds left. Bo gets on a breakaway and can't score. He's running out of time to prove himself to the organization.
I think the problem with Anthony Beauvillier is he's just in his head way too much. He's in his own head way too much.
Yeah. It's turning into, I don't want to take a knock. Michael Grabner had a great career for what he did, but Beauvillier is turning into Michael Grabner, where he's got the speed, he's got the skill. Just the finishing ability is gone.
I made an Andy Hilbert comparison a couple of weeks ago.
Speaking of another name you haven't heard.
Right.
Number 11, Andy Hilbert, yeah.
All right, Eddie, what do you got next?
Stefan kind of touched on this question earlier when we were talking about Dobson and a goal-scoring drought. Trotty19 asked, the Islanders were at the top of the league in scoring in October and November. What specifically happened to make them fall off the cliff since then?
it's defense. It's goals from the back end. That's been the biggest issue. Again, you look back, nobody was having a ridiculous scoring pace besides Nelson when he got hot. And then when Dobson stopped scoring, Mayfield score, other guys, Romanov gets his first as an Islander, but he was the catalyst from the back end. He was your offensive defenseman. So the forwards weren't scoring, Dobson wasn't scoring, and now you had, someone's got to step up. You didn't see it. That's been the biggest thing. They talk about the next man up mentality, and we saw this week. It's one line scoring. That's it. Dobson's hurt. When Pelech was out, as much as he doesn't score goals, he does a lot in transition. He gets the puck up. Nobody was doing that. The defense was struggling. Everything goes back to the transition game. Dobson was a great transitioner, gets the puck up, and when you're not shooting from the back end and don't have that guy in the lineup, you need players to step up, and they don't have enough offensive defensive pieces back there to get bucks on net. You had the power play too. Pulak got his chance in the power play. He wasn't scoring or hitting the net as much. Right. Again, no Dobson. You have Bolduc in the lineup getting power play time. Maybe he's passing up shooting opportunities. So, Dobson's a main part of it, but again, he can't be your only person. Hockey, you need 4 or 5, 6 guys step up on a nightly basis, not just one.
Absolutely. Ed, next one.
Yes. If this next comment comes from Tom Boyle.
T. Boyle.
If the Isles make the playoffs, do you see them doing any damage with their elite goaltending?
You want to take that one, Christian?
Sure. I think it's such an intriguing question because the Islanders have managed to, as Dan almost alluded to earlier when he was on with us, he's kind of ruined the situation for everybody because the Islanders have consistently, even under the Barry Trotz era, they've played really well to start the season. They've had that traditional dip in the second half, and they've limped into the playoffs usually under all the years that Barry Trotz was behind the bench. And so, and then in the playoffs, they do these crazy things, right? They go to the conference final 2 years in a row. They win a first-round series, which they weren't expected to do. So my inclination, my gut with this team is to say no, they don't make a lot of noise. I could see them getting bounced in the first round. But at the same time, it's hard to fully say that because the Islanders have done this time in and time out where they get to the postseason and then they're able to win those tight 2-1 games, 3-2 games that they haven't been able to win so far during the regular season because it's an 82-game grind, and the Islanders have always been built for the postseason. That being said, I think the interesting factor in all of this is what does Lane Lambert's little changes do for the Islanders still being that playoff-built team once they actually get to the postseason? Do they still have that DNA in them where they can do that, or are these little tweaks and changes that change the mindset just enough where a first-round series that goes 5-6 games, that's going to be their undoing?
That is the second reason why I want the Islanders to make the playoffs now, because I am intrigued by what Lane Lambert will do with this team. And if we do see a hybrid of his game matched with what he knows from a Barry Trotz system, where maybe they do go more into that defensive style because that's what you got to bring in the playoffs. And when you have a guy like Ilya Sorokin back there, anything can happen.
Right, but the flip side is the Islanders need scores. They need to get those 1-2
They
goals.
do need to score their own goals.
And the problem is at least in January, we haven't seen that. And if those problems persist, what's to say that they're going to be able to make it out of a first-round series, let alone go back to the conference final? And
the tweaks you talk about, the regular season and the playoffs are two different sports.
Oh, for sure.
So, again, he's making tweaks to help them get to the playoffs, and that's playing a more offensive game, running gun, which is how teams usually win in the regular season. Now, their defense hasn't shown that they could just snap into the Trotz type of play in the playoffs. So you think, okay, can they make that difference? They've done it before, but again, not with the tweaks that they have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if they do make it. But again, without a scorer, they can make it to the conference finals. You need that one player that's going to step up and score that big goal in a big moment. That stopped them from making the cup final every time. So
I don't want to talk about it.
But to answer T. Boyle's question, I guess, no, we don't collectively think they could.
The goaltending could do a lot to keep them in it.
The key
word,
word
we beat around the bush.
The key word being could. Yeah, they could. They could make some noise in the playoffs because everybody always talks about that. When you get to the playoffs, all you need is a hot goalie. You ride the hot goalie. And Ilya Sorokin's capable of doing that. Can the Islanders win some 2-1, 3-2 games to get through some tough series against some really tough teams? Sure, it's possible. And who knows? Like, I don't know. They might have to... They really have to rattle off an 8 to 10 game point streak just to establish themselves in the playoffs and give us any kind of encouragement to say, all right, Lou, add that score, and let's see what you guys can do in the playoffs. But if they just meander through the rest of the season, they get in by a point, the skin of their teeth, is it worth even giving up the assets? That's why I pitched that question to Dan earlier, because they're in just such a strange place where they haven't really defined themselves enough this season to say they suck, tank, get Bedard, or they're great, they're going to be all right. Go for it. It's just it's hard to pin that down. Let's take another one.
And the power play is the biggest thing in the playoffs. When you can't generate 5-on-5 and you get those power play chances, you got to find a way to come through. And if the Islanders' power play is the same way like that, I mean, you can't rely. That power play is a momentum killer, and playoffs are all about carrying momentum.
Yeah, the power play has been brutal. Ed, what do you have?
Trottier again asks, are Wahlstrom and Clutterbuck done for the season?
Okay, so Cal Clutterbuck, they're both out indefinitely, and if you look back, most of the out indefinitely's under Lou have been season-ending. Now, we know that Clutterbuck's injury is not shoulder-related. Lean told us that, which is good or bad, you could say, because that's a brand new injury. We think it's his hands, his fingers, which when he got that skate cut, he lost he had nerve damage. He still doesn't have back. For Wahlstrom's, I asked probably a week ago, I asked Lane, is he skating? And I was told, don't ask again. Ask,
You shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth, Stefan. No, but I said, don't ask again. He's not skating. You look back at the replay. I was trying to figure out, they said it was lower body. What could have happened? Because you saw his head at the boards. Maybe he's holding his shoulder. His right knee goes the complete opposite direction when he falls over on the hit. So nothing was announced. You got to think it's something with his ACL, probably torn ACL, which 6 months, 7 month, 8 month recovery. The fact that we're not even allowed to really ask anymore. I would be confident in saying he's done for the year. But again, until we find out, but I think we're likely to see Clutterbuck back way before Wahlstrom, but I could see if Clutterbuck's injury is pretty severe too, if he needs surgery on something again. You worry about his career after hockey, his life after hockey, because he's been so banged up.
Yeah, lots of bumps and bruises. Ed, if you have one more, we'll take one more.
Well, I have a couple of comments brewing. And, they're all for Christian, and I will end with the last. Yeah, open thoughts brewing.
they're all for me. They're all for you. Each and every one of them.
They're all for you, and we're gonna end with the questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Just for Christian Arnold. We're starting off with Coach Lambert here.
Oh, nice.
Christian contributed an awful lot to this show over the years, both on and off the rails. Thank you for the laugh.
Yes, very nice.
Best of luck.
Gonna miss the off the rails. Gonna miss the off the rails.
Thank you.
And Tom said it was great meeting Christian at Blue Line and RJ's. All the best to you.
Thank you.
And Trottier asks a beautiful question for the end of the night.
Oh boy.
What will Christian miss most about Hockey Night in New York?
Wow.
What will I miss most about Hockey Night in New York?
You can give your bullshit answer, then you can give your real one.
No, I was going to give you my real one. Mine was going to be the free swag. Now I have to go out and buy clothes again. I can't just mooch off of our.
That's probably true.
I can't just mooch off our wonderful sponsors to continue to clothe me for the rest of my life, which was fantastic. I wear the sweatshirt all the time. My Blue Line Deli swag all the time. My Thai Technology, when they were a wonderful sponsor of the show, I wear that shirt all the time. RJ Daniels, I have a nice RJ Daniels shirt that I wear. So yeah, that's probably the most. That's probably the thing I'll miss the most. Is all the free stuff. If I'm being 100% honest,
I'm upset I asked this question.
It will not be Sean, that's for sure. I see Stefan from time to time, so I won't miss Stefan because he still texts me all the time, even though I've tried to tell him multiple times to lose my phone number. Ed, I'll miss you. I like chilling with you.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah, Ed's solid.
Jay's always a good dude. I like seeing Jay from time to time when I come through. But yeah, no. Joking aside, I will miss Sean. Was a great co-host. We had a lot of fun together.
We did.
We had a lot of great firsts on the program and building it up, and I think that's a credit from not for me, but to Sean for his dedication and his commitment to really put his foot to the pedal with Hockey Night in New York and building it to what it is now, which is a wonderful outlet for people to vent their frustration, their fandom, their just have a little bit of fun too on a Sunday night when they don't want to watch the foosball or the basketball or whatever.
Our ratings with football are neck and neck.
I heard. I'm not gonna lie. I heard NBC was very, very scared towards
they
the
are
end
threatened.
Of the year. Yeah, I mean, right now I think they have more viewers per capita than the AFC Championship game that's going on right now on CBS or whatever made-up station that game is on.
Sure.
But no, I think it's been a lot of fun to work with you and co-host the program, Sean. And I know I'm leaving it in very capable hands with Stefan coming on and someone who's a shining star, not only just with podcasts, but with the hockey media world in general. I know his ceiling's the limit. I don't know what the term. But
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
With Stefen. So you're in great hands with him and his insight and his sources and his knowledge of the game, more so than I think I ever brought to this show. So, Stefen, I'm excited to see where you take this show. And, of course, Chris Botta being there as well has been phenomenal and brings an extra edge to the show, someone who really has insights into what went on and what possibly still goes on into, being a part of a front office or an NHL club.
Yeah.
So.
No, he's had some great stories.
If I could add just something.
Please.
For Christian, obviously, I don't know if everybody knows, but a couple years ago, I realized I wanted to do this, and I reached out to about 10 Facebook pages saying, hey, I don't have any writing experience. I want to cover the Islanders. Christian was the only one to respond. He took the time and effort, which I know he banged his head against the wall reading my stuff when I first, probably the year of me doing it.
It was awful.
It was horrendous.
I hated him.
Yeah.
Damn.
But he gave me...
He'd send me stories of like, I hate you so much.
Yeah, and he took the time and effort working. I don't know. He worked crazy hours at the radio station. Took the time and effort to help me, train me. When he left to join where I'm working now, he offered me that job. I didn't take it at that point, and then I helped him out with the NY Hockey Now. He trained me, kept helping me grow. He left that. I took his spot. I'm taking his spot again. So, Christian, thanks for leaving places. So you gave me opportunities.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But I really owe this guy, a lot. So thank you.
You're very
nice
welcome.
Nice tribute, buddy.
Like I said, Stefen's a rising star in this industry, and seriously, when you read his stuff and you understand his insight, I mean, he certainly is up there with the Molly Walkers and Andrew Grosses and Ethan Sears and all those guys and girls that cover this sport. So.
Great stuff, Christian. It is a shame to see you go. It's bittersweet. It's great bringing on Stefen at the same time. It's a shame seeing you go. We had a lot of fun here, a lot of laughs. I love the reference to the off the rails over there because we
went off the rails so much that early
fun.
Seasons of the show.
Yes, we did.
Were ridiculous.
Yeah, it was.
I think we were just loopy from all the quarantining.
Maybe, and some of those late. We used to do like 10 o'clock shows, and we would just be we
were tired.
Yes,
we were loopy.
Yes, tired and loopy. But yeah, man, it's been a pleasure working with you, buddy. Obviously, we're gonna keep in touch with pals and all that.
Definitely.
And it's a shame you're not covering the team anymore, but you're covering everybody else. You're doing a great damn job.
I'll probably cover
every
more.
now and then.
Cover our Islanders a little bit more now that things have died down with the other teams, and naturally, I'll try and jump on as many Ranger games as I can.
And who knows, man? Maybe we'll just have you on here every now and then too. You know, maybe we'll talk about it. We'll see. We'll find a Zoom call for you.
I mean, we could have done this months ago if you just gave us. I said that.
I wanted you in studio.
I know. I told Sean, I was like, just have me zoom in. You can get this over with.
We wanted you right here.
So we could shit talk
right here. In front
I
of the
believe
cameras.
that part.
Right here in front of the cameras. But, buddy, it's been great.
Yes.
Best of luck with AM New York and whatever other future endeavors you have.
Appreciate that.
Thanks so much for all the help, for hanging out here. It's been awesome, man.
Thank you, dude.
And I think we're going to wrap this one up. So, folks, want to thank you all so much for tuning in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY and your favorite podcast providers. Big thanks to Dan Saraceni over at Lighthouse Hockey. And, of course, a big thanks to this gentleman right here, Mr. Christian Arnold. A big thanks to Stefen Rosner. Christian, even though there's really no reason for our audience to follow you anymore, where can we follow you on Twitter?
Well, if you want to read tweets about the Giants, Yankees, Nets, or possibly the Rangers, at C_Arnold01.
And is it amnewyork.com?
AMNY.com.
AMNY.com.
/sports. I don't know if this slash. I don't know if that's a backslash or a regular slash.
And Stefen, where can we find you?
Yep, STEFEN_ROSNER and NYIHockeyNow.com.
Very good, very good. Want to thank you all for tuning in once again. And, of course, a big thanks to our sponsors, starting with Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Check them out at BlueLineDeli.com. Also, a big thanks to Lost Farmer Brewing Company, located at 63A 2nd Street in Mineola. And check them out at LostFarmerBrewing.com. And, of course, a big thanks to Main Street Board Game Cafe, located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Check them out at MainStBoardGameCafe.com. Remember, folks, if you dig what we're doing here, rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, spread the word. I want to thank you all for tuning in here live, of course, and checking us out on YouTube later on, and your favorite podcast providers. For Stefen Rosner, for Christian Arnold, for Eddie and Jay, for myself, Sean Cuthbert, we have been Hockey Night New York. Have a great rest of your night.